Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Wolves fans, and anyone else that's stumbled across the stream or the podcast. We're here tonight. I'm Ed. With me tonight we have Luke, we've got Dean, and we've got Rich. How are we all doing, boys?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, we're here to discuss what literally no one apart from me is calling the Dean Richards derby, Southampton versus Wolves. I was struggling earlier to think of anyone other than Paul Jones, and I felt that Dean Richards deserved the honour. Rest in peace. So, yeah, like we say, we're here to discuss this weekend's game. It's a 3:00 game tomorrow on Saturday. We are back to proper football at a proper time. After quite a frustrating 2-2 draw last week against Crystal Palace. Dean, how's your week been after that?
Not bad, actually. And one of the days in the week, I bumped into this really dodgy fella on my daughter's school car park. It was Luke, by the way. No, it's been all right, to be fair. Work's been hectic as normal. But after the game I stewed on it a little bit. There's the first point. Stewed on it. I got a bit angry. But I think by the middle of the week, by Wednesday night, I was kind of thinking, right, let's gear up to Saturday now, and something needs to happen either way. So more anticipating tomorrow more than anything that.
Yeah. And on that, anticipating something, Luke, do you reckon we'll get straight into it? Is tomorrow shit or bust?
Yeah, I mean, we can't afford not to win tomorrow. You know, if we're going into game week 12 on 4 points, the writing's on the wall. I was having a look on Bet365 last night or the night before. 6-4 to get relegated. We are now. If you're somebody who bets in the hundreds or the thousands, I think that is incredible value. However, please don't take that as financial advice. And we're 7-1 to finish bottom, which again I thought was brilliant value. I mean, Southampton, are they a point in front of us? You know, so if they're putting 4 points ahead of us, looking at our goal difference, there's another point that was short as well. It's not looking good. I mean, there's a graphic that came up on Sky Sports the other day. Every team that's been bottom of the league after 10 games and where they've finished, and I think in the last 10 or 15 years, only 3 teams have survived. You know, it's Gary O'Neill won't agree, but tomorrow's a must-win game.
Yeah, and on that, Rich, he's basically in his comments today said it's not realistically a must-win game. Is he lying? Is he trying to sugarcoat the truth? Like, what? I know we shouldn't read too much into what people say in presses, but what's he thinking? What do you think?
I think it's the most must-win game we've had in a while, probably since the commentary game, laughably, last year. It's been imploded since then, laughably as well. So for me, his comments, I think he's just covering himself, trying to put the pressure on himself rather than the team. They clearly have enough pressure they can't deal with currently. So, yeah, it's just, again, hopefully we can get some kind of idea of what we're going to do as of 5 o'clock tomorrow, what the plan's going to be. Are we having a new manager? Have we now got some final, decent points on the board with a win for the first time this year? Or are we all going to be crying in our beer as usual, moaning he's got to go, the board's got to go? Yeah, it's going to be one of them, isn't it? It's going to be a nail biter, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a nail biter. And just a little bit of admin before we crack into the weekend's games. Obviously, the Wolves Fancast. Follow us all on all social media. I think we are Fancast on Wolves Fancast on all of them. And it's thanks to the Sports Social Podcast Network and the FC Quiz app for supporting us. And if you haven't played that FC Quiz app, this week's definitely one to get in on because it's relatively easy compared to some of the other ones we've had. I did quite well this week, so yeah, get stuck in with that. But before we tie up some nooses for us to talk about the Southampton game in full, let's have a look at the weekend's fixtures. Looking over that, Rich, where's your stray £5 that you found in your jean pocket going this week? Any bankers there for you?
You'd probably go at left field. I'd say Bournemouth to beat Brentford as both decent teams. Probably go Bournemouth there, or maybe Leicester shocking United.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be really nice. Hopefully Liverpool can stuff the Villa as well. Watching Villa have a little bit of a downfall is just giving the slightest crumb of comfort for the position that we're in at the moment.
Takes the edge off a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, slightly. Until then, you look at the league table and realise that we'd give a left bollock to be in their position at the moment. And even when they're losing, can't even say anything. Can't even get loud on social media. Can't see your Villa mates down the boozer and take the piss because we're a laughing stock at the moment. We really, really are.
And how about you, Dean? Is there any accumulators there you want to throw on?
I think you could probably have a little. The odds are always better for the away team. So to go a bit left ball, if you did have a sneaky on Villa, Arsenal, and Newcastle as a threefold away win, you probably get some decent odds on that. I reckon. To be really long odds because of how unlikely it is, but that's probably if I want to stick a couple of quid on with a decent.
Who did you say? Villa,
Arsenal, and Newcastle.
Let's have a look. And you are saying that this is financial advice, Dean?
According to Danny in the chat, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Villa, Arsenal. Why can't I? Oh, that's why. I can't even get the Arsenal game up. Sack it. You'll probably get about 25 to 1, I'd imagine.
That's worth a quid.
And that's Dean's financial advice of the week. £100 on Villa. Who was it? Villa, Arsenal, and
Villa. I'll have a look now while you're giving your banker.
My banker. Yeah, Liverpool. Liverpool will be my banker this week, I reckon.
I'll just go see O'Neill.
Let's have a look. Who would argue? Ooh, I would go Brighton, Man City draw, Palace, Fulham draw, Forest, Newcastle draw.
Now that would get you some good odds. The 3 draws.
Yeah, I'll get on the 3 draws.
There's probably some guarantees out there as well. But let's get back to the main man at the moment, and it's not Stu who's in the comments. Even Stu saying Gary Neal can't even lie straight in bed. Right, looking at some of his comments at Gary O'Neill this today in his presser. We'll start off. We'll go to the goalkeeper, Rich. We'll go to the goalkeeper to talk about the goalkeeper. He's given mixed messages, which is not unusual. Gary O'Neill on Sam Johnston, just reading here from the website. Sam Johnston's fine. He was expected to be involved last week, but suffered an illness on the day of the game. Some people don't believe that, so missed out. He's trained all week and he's fine. There's a couple of little other minor issues through the week, but he'd expect everyone from last weekend to be okay. So reading into that, Johnston should be available. What do we think? Does he go back to him or does he keep faith with Jose Sarr?
It depends on how he's seeing the other side of the picture, really, because obviously we failed on a bid to get Ramsdale, or maybe that was smoke and mirrors and we didn't go after him in the first place. But yeah, I think Sarr stays laughably because shot stopping he is better. But yeah, it depends on what kind of formation you want to play. Are we going to go attacking where you need, distribution be a bit better? So Johnson gets a nod, but then again, he's not played in a couple of weeks again. So I don't know why I'm saying this out loud. I'd probably rather Sarr in goal, to be honest.
Yeah. Luke, your thoughts? I'm really bored of talking about the keepers, but we do need to talk about them, unfortunately. Oh, I don't know if Luke...
Everyone's still there?
Yeah, you are, mate, yeah. Thoughts on the keepers, Luke?
Oh, sorry. My stream
okay.
just completely went then.
That's all right.
We were still talking about Sarr. My thoughts on the keepers, Sar's not done too bad since he's came in. Like Rich mentioned, better shot stopper. Johnson probably does have. Well, no, Johnson does have the better distribution with his feet. But me personally, I would stick with Sar. That's not going to please Johnston. My biggest concern is I just don't believe O'Neill's comments about Johnston. Don't believe he's injured. I just think he's barefaced lying, which is a big concern if he is. Hopefully he's not, but if he is, then I just don't understand what's going through his brain at this moment in time with some of the comments that he's coming out with. I'm a bit concerned that he's going to end up losing the plot. No, genuinely. So we all saw the clip when the fans were mentioning that he wasn't too sure on what he was doing, and I don't think he was laughing, but it was a bit of that. Fuck, I think they're on to me. I think they got me. I think they've got me. And some of you, could you just get those comments up again, please, so I can read this one that he said about.
Yeah.
I'm aware of areas we're not coping too well with, which is great if you're going to amend it. So the atmosphere and fan frustration, it doesn't affect me. I understand the job with where we are. I expect some negative noise. The players need the fans, and they're giving everything. They're a group that keeps going, and the fans play a big part. Yeah, he needs to get the fans back on board. I think, was it Brentford away when you noticed that he'd lost the away fans? And I think as soon as you lose the away fans, you're pretty much on a hide into nothing. He's got a lot of work on his plate to win these fans back. And funnily enough, if he pulls his finger out of his arse and stops lying and coming out with all this nonsense that he often does, he could actually get the fans back on side, because the real anger should be aimed at Jeff and the board. Because we can all have our opinions on Gary O'Neill, whether he's a great up-and-coming English coach, whether he's a fraud with what's his win percentage, like 27% or something, which is absolutely shite. But the issue is bigger than Gary O'Neill, than what's going on at Wolves at the moment. And in my opinion, questions need to be asked. Fingers need to be pointed at people in executive positions at this club. So if O'Neill plays his cards right, which he's got to be careful about, because they're employing him at the end of the day, but he can get the fans back on board. I do think he's lost the fans slightly, but not completely, not to a level where it's completely dead. A couple of good results, and before we know it, he's fist bumping the Safe Bank again, and all's forgiven, and everyone's booing Jeff, even Gary.
Well, one thing you always know about football fans is we're all fickle, right? All it takes is 2 or 3 results, and like you say, all of a sudden we're. I don't think you're wrong either. As much as there was many people singing Gary O'Neill's Barbie Army as there was questioning his abilities in the Palace game, so he definitely still has some of his supporters within the ranks. But coming to you, Dean, what do you think? Do we make any changes to the squad or the team that played against Crystal Palace? Is there something there that you see some green shoots from? Obviously, Southampton lower down in the league until last week were, probably performing the worst in the league, even compared to ourselves, because at least we were sort of in games, and people are saying that they're just passing for no reason. Do we make any changes? Is there anything that is glaringly obvious that you're hoping Gary will see for tomorrow?
I hope so. They're not very much of a threat on the transition, so we can be a bit more expansive with the formation. I'd like to see a nice standard 4. We have one of the biggest prospect number 6s in world football in Andre, and he can't even get on the bench. So I can't even get off the bench. Sorry. So you'd go with your standard back 4, bring Andre in. Gomez showed last week, I think I put it on Twitter, that he was back to his kind of Flamengo days when he was playing with 2 legs. He wasn't a flamingo. So back to his Flamengo days where he was a genuine box to box, which he did that when he was there until they kind of got him to be that kind of sitter, which is what we signed him for. But he's got that in his locker to get forward. And so you have Andre, you have Gomez, and then you have one more. Probably, I think Mario deserves a start. But then what I do want is I want some genuine width out wide in the wingers. So I'd want to have probably Guedes on the one side, Cunha on the other. But I'd want them to have a proper relationship. And if Andre's sitting, it gives the license to Semedo and Aït-Nouri to get forward because he can screen the two centre backs. That's what I'd want. I'd want a bit more. But put your cock on the table, guys. Let's go, and just get at them. So more than balls out. Let's go. Let's beat these rather than let's kind of, because they will be tippy tappy. That's what they do. They always have, but they're not that level yet. So they will turn it over a few times in their own kind of half. So we need to have the players at the front of the pitch rather than just Cunha and JSL to just be able to capitalise on that. So just in general, a bit more front foot football.
Yeah, I think it's something that, again, reading through his comments, that I was a bit concerned about, Richard, I'll come to you on this, is that he talks about the fans. We need to be patient tomorrow because of how much Southampton hold on to the ball, and we need to work through any possible frustration we have in the away team coming here and holding on to the ball. I think I agree completely with what Dean's just said in terms of we're at home, they are where they are, they've only just come up. We should be on the front foot. What do you make of O'Neill's comments telling us to be ready for us to maybe not have the ball tomorrow?
I kind of get it, but like Dean said, play front foot football. Don't give them the opportunity to sit back with 11 men behind the ball and try and keep possession or ticky-tack. That's fine, but we're at home. They're not at home. Dominating from the first minute, pressure, counter-attack when we need to. We've just got to be, like Dean said, front foot football, just constantly go at them. Let them make the mistakes. If they want to keep playing out from the back and making mistakes, crack on. Then we will take advantage from it because we've scored good goals when we scored goals. They've not been average ones or just, random. They've been really well finished. But the last two goals against Palace, they're well taken finishes from both players. So for me, we've just got to have a go and be cutthroat. And I think that's our issue. We're a bit, I don't really want to concede 3. So let's sit back. I'd rather concede 2 and maybe score 1 or 2. I would rather lose 5-0 right now, going all balls out, get it done, than just try and hold on for a point here and there. We just got to win. No matter what happens tomorrow, we've got to win. There's no excuses from any part of the ground tomorrow other than 3 points. I see in the comments that someone's saying, is a draw acceptable? No, it's not. Yes, it's a point in the Premier League. Fair enough. Every point's great, but they're a championship team. End of. They shouldn't be in the league. They've got up. Fair play to them. But we need to put them back where they need to be. He's back in the championship. I just don't think they're good enough to be here. They've earned the right to be there, but so have we. We need to show up for a little bit and actually show that we're a decent football team. We've got a great squad. But we're really not showing it this year. We've struggled for 25 games or whatever now in a row. So changes I think around the corner by the look of it on all forms of it.
I think we need to show a bit of bravery. Just be a bit more braver in possession. Be a bit braver out of possession as well. I mean, we had the conversation in the group earlier in the week or over the weekend. We've won the XG in games, and I don't like all this stat stuff, but there is a part of it in football. In 2 of the last 17 games, we've won the XG. It's not good enough, and the concerning thing for me is, I agree with your comments about Southampton. We are better than Southampton, and they will be down there. But look how many chances Crystal Palace can created against us. So open. The problem with us is out of possession, we just look so vulnerable all the time, and it's strange because we always used to be quite solid, quite compact, quite difficult to break down. The only thing that was missing was in the final third, we was just terrible, and we wasn't positive enough. But it's completely flipped where we are creating more now and we are getting more goals, but we way too flaky. And he's right in his comments saying, if you're going to concede 2 and 3 every week, you're not going to win games. Certainly not in the Premier League. It's near enough nigh on impossible. But But the concern is how easy Gary O'Neill teams seem to be to play against. That's a concern. And we're not just talking about a blip of 5 or 6 games, which happens. Every team in the Premier League will go through a blip of 5 or 6 games where they struggle. We're talking 20 plus games now.
Yeah.
Now that's not like that's not a blip. That's just us. That's just him as a coach with his philosophy and how he, the messages he's getting across to the players. Because I mean, when you look at our squad, the position we're in it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing, man for man, player for player, pound for pound. We have got a squad that realistically, and I'm not even saying this with Wolves tinted glasses on, should be finishing around 10th. Season in, season out, no excuses.
Yep.
Obviously, your injury suspensions, which will affect your season over the course of the season, but we've not even got that excuse. We've been quite blessed with who we've had available to us. I saw somebody put on Twitter the other day how blessed we are with options off the bench as well now, and they put a picture of a bench under Bruno Lage.
It was the first game of the season. That was when it was away at Leeds, and it was horrible.
Yeah, it was a disgusting bench.
It was the academy kids. That was it.
I was going to say, do we also have like 2 keepers on the bench as well? Was it Lewis Mould or Mouldy or something?
Louis Malden, yeah. To be fair, whisper it quietly. Fabio's just scored.
Has he?
Yeah.
The boy. All he needed was a trim. Been saying it for years. But even Nuno never really possessed great benches, did he?
That was by design. He wanted that, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted that small squad, didn't he? But O'Neill has the best. No, is that a bit of a reach? Has the best squad that we've had in the Premier League.
He doesn't have the best team, but I'd argue he has the best squad.
Yeah. When you're looking at the depth, the quality available to him, he's just underperforming. And again, it's not down to bad luck. It's really not. It's down to him.
Or coaching.
Yeah.
Or planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the comments that's in I'm trying to find it now is from Colonel Crow. If you're almost any player in our squad at the minute, you don't know if you're in or out or what formation you're playing. It seems like totally insane management. And I think that's I kind of lost my temper, I think, a little bit on the review show after the Palace game when I asked what a Gary O'Neill team is. And I think that's where I'm getting at right now, because I think, Luke, you're not harping back to too long ago when we had an identity, and we don't seem to have one anymore. But on Gary O'Neill, and we've had the comments or thoughts on whether he's lost some of the fans. I think some of the away fans, you were right, Luke, after the Brentford game, that's the heart and soul of the club, and they've watched us capitulate, and even Colin scored. But he doesn't appear to have lost the team yet, or the age-old lost the dressing room. Dean, do you see that as well, that the players still seem to be there for him, or do you think the players are there for themselves?
I think that there is definitely some players that are there, but as with every squad and every dressing room, there will be certain fractions within the dressing room. There'll be certain players that won't be happy. Carlos Forbes, probably one of them. Come on at half time, get dragged off 5 minutes before the end. That ain't going to go down very well if you're a professional player. I think there will be players that are kind of unhappy that they're not playing, but that's to be expected. It's his job to manage that. This is why Nuno didn't want the big squad, because he was happy to have this siege mentality, everyone on the same page, whereas Gary O'Neill's blessed with a bit more riches, and with that comes complications in man management and having to manage the players and the personalities a little bit more. The goalkeeper's a classic example. He's obviously told Sam Johnston one thing, whereas in reality, once Johnston's come in, Jose's guy's gone, you know what, you're not having my shirt, mate, I'm having it back. And now he's got to then go back on what he said and get Johnston on the bench, because Johnston wasn't ill last week. There's no chance. Absolutely no chance he just wakes up ill. He got told he wasn't playing, he's through a strop. But so I think that there is going to be stuff there, but there's also really, someone mentioned it earlier, that Opta Sport article that circulated in Australia of going about Gary O'Neill loves to moan and stuff like that. And you can picture it from him. But the club put a video out today and is about the gala dinner that happened in the week, and Gary Neal did a speech at the end of it and says like how inspiring the stories are, that kind of people that were there. And I think Daz James is one of the disability team captain who's got an amazing story, and he speaks really well. But then that's only when he's facing the public. I do wonder how he's like behind the scenes, if he got stuff like that coming out about him being a bit of a moaner and things. So I reckon he's managing it carefully, but at the same time, I do think there will be players that aren't fully on board.
Yeah, it's going to be, obviously, it's difficult right now with your bottom of the league. People are saying the right things. Reading off the Wolves website now, interview with Mateus Cunha in the middle of the week. You know, we need to keep going. The situation's hard. Everyone knows it, but we have a lot of power inside the group. Rich, coming to you, are there any players that we need to, maybe even players that are performing this season so far? I'm thinking of players like Strand Larsen and Cunha. Are there any even players like that? Do we need more people to step up? Is there more that they can give, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's only a certain few that can really turn around and say they've been great this year. You know, Strand Larsen, to be fair to him, he's done out wrong since he's been here. He's been brilliant. Cunha just got better and better. Gomez been in and out of form, but I think having a child and in different countries and things like that, it's different. But he's got his Brazilian mate alongside him now. So, again, his form's gone back up. You know, for me, defensively, we've been poor for a while, but that's a problem. It's just tricky, really. I think you've got to look at people like Sarabia, who really aren't shown up. And I know he was bloody awful against Palace, but he has games where he's unbelievable. You think, oh, okay, that's why he played at some of the biggest clubs in Europe. And then you see against Palace, you think, do they use boots? Is his brother playing or something? It just don't look right. But there's the squad, like, guys have been saying, the squad is probably one of the best squads we've had since being back in the Prem, or even through the Championship. It's got such depth for a change. But, it's all right having quality, but we've got a coach that's learning on the job. We don't have any experience as a manager currently. He's got, 2 and a bit years of experience. It's not quite enough to deal with battling against Pep and Arteta, the brains of people that have been doing the job a hell of a lot longer than him. So do I cut him a bit of slack because of his lack of experience? Probably not, purely because he's got the job. They like what he's got to offer. They like that he's probably a yes man, to be fair to him. He does seem to be like that kind of way, which is a shame. His interviews are a bit confusing. He says one thing today and tomorrow be completely polar opposite of what he said yesterday. I don't know. I think we've got so many things we should be happy with, but we're not, because we're bottom of the league. We're bang average. We're not on form. And like I said, it's rolled over from last year, isn't it? So for me, we've got a lot of players that still need to step up, but there's a few that have just been, we're very, very fortunate. Like even Andre, how we got players like that in our squad is, if you'd said that 10 years ago, it's frightening to have the ability some of these lads have got. So we're lucky, but we don't see that right now because we're shit. We're playing poor. So we don't see the value in it right now. All we want is a win, start climbing the table, get all the lads off our back that aren't supporting Wolves, all our United mates and all that are mugging us off for being bottom. And we just want to be back to what we've been playing the last 4, 5, 6 years in the Prem. We've beaten teams left, right, and centre. And we're so far from that currently. We're really, really we're not even in first gear by the look of it when other teams are in third and fourth already. So,
going back to his comments, Luke, talking on the Molineux atmosphere and fans' frustration, it doesn't affect me. This is Gary O'Neill talking. I understand the job with where we are and expect some negative noise. The players need the fans, and the players are giving everything. What is it that we need? Is it as simple as a win tomorrow to get the fans screaming, or do we need a big tackle in the first 10 minutes? How can we get behind the team tomorrow? Because they have to inspire us, let's be honest.
You know what they need? £2 points in the ground. Let everyone get pissed, because a pissed up Molineux is a fucking force to be reckoned with, man. But it's with the atmosphere, it's always give and take. I've been critical of the atmosphere at Molineux for many a year, but the team have got to inspire that atmosphere as much as the atmosphere has got to inspire the team. We've got to work together. You know, the fans and the team have got to work together. But how many times we've been down the Molineux, the atmosphere is rocking, like everyone's up for it, and we're 2-0 down after like 15 minutes. You think, what's the fucking point? Like these guys just ain't on the same wavelength as us. But sometimes it does take that tackle, or I mean, the perfect example: Man City at home, 3-2, when VAR was doing its best to dry bum us, and the atmosphere that night was absolutely amazing. One of the best atmospheres I've experienced at the Molineux. So it does need both, but then at the same time, it's very difficult for the fans to get up for it when we're bottom of the league. We ain't won a game. Like, what was it that was going around Twitter? Somebody could have had a baby in May or something, or knocked the missus up in May. The baby's born now, and they've still not seen a Wolves win. Like, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So that's not going to help things. I'll tell you what would get the atmosphere going. Jeff Shee turning up.
Oof.
That would get the atmosphere going.
Take a brave Jeff, I think, to turn up for that.
There is a secret weapon tomorrow, though, isn't there? They've got a secret weapon up the sleeve that they could roll out pre-game and get everyone up for it.
The liquidator.
And that's the rumoured return of Mr. Ruben Neves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, carry on. I don't know this rumour. Keep going.
There is a rumour that Neves will be in attendance tomorrow. He went to Finland yesterday to have a check-up on his injury because he's not playing for Al Hilal at the moment. Not been called up to international duty for the same injury, and he went to Finland to see a specialist. And about 4:00 this afternoon, his wife posted on Instagram that they were at an airport in Finland, and there was conveniently there was a flight to Heathrow 2 hours later from that same airport. So, but it was mentioned on I think Manny mentioned it on Always Wolves that he was in communication with Neves, and Neves has said he's coming back to watch the game tomorrow. So if the club have got anything about them, they'll get Neves involved pre-game, get him the side of the pitch, and then we've got Neves rolling around for the first 5 minutes of the game just to get some atmosphere going. Then the players can give us something that first 10 minutes, and we go from there.
Fucking Cameron Archer's put one in the back of the net after about 7 minutes.
And Aaron Ramsdale's on the halfway line celebrating.
Yeah.
To be fair, even that though, that we have to harness that. The hatred for Ramsdale needs to come out. We need to give him what Foster got that few seasons back when we beat Watford 4-0. We need to get in his head. He will get rattled.
And for that, we need Neves to come off the stands and do a chip and score, right? That's what we need for that.
You can do the halftime show.
Right.
Yeah. To be fair, we need to get those halftime shows back. The Molin View. It was a great little plug from me and Goody that was.
Are you saying that the JD Sports trying to score in the top bins isn't doing it for you?
They were atrocious on the weekend, weren't they? Fair play. Maybe they need to bring their boots next time. Bless them.
Right. Well, we'll go for a quick break. For those watching us live, it is just 7 seconds, and for those on listening back on the podcast, if you whatever comes up next, the money you've made off Dean's bet, by whatever it is that we're peddling. All right, welcome back to the Wolves Fancast. Talking about Southampton now and the game tomorrow. Before we do our predictions, and all of a sudden we all predict 4 or 5-0 wins and go home happy. What do we need to worry about, Dean, with Southampton? You've already touched on it a little bit, but what's their threat?
Death by 1,000 passes. To be fair, I haven't watched much of them this season, I'll be honest. But obviously Adam Armstrong scored a couple of goals recently, so he'd probably be something to keep an eye on. Like Luke's already said, Cameron Archer's handy. But other than that, they've got Jan Bednarek at the back still, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I always remember back to when it was Bednarek and Vestergaard, wasn't it, years ago for them, and Neto turned one of them inside out and put it in the far post. So, I think, as Rich has said, they're a championship team. So they are going to have threats. But you look at star power, we should massively overpower them. So it will literally just be that they'll bore us to death.
And thanks to the amazing work by Little Dan, and there's no sarcasm. That's genuinely the work he does to put all these slides together for us. There's a quote here which I think is from Gully, talking about the last 5 games against Southampton, Wolves have won. Whether he's trying to manifest that to be a win or it's a jinx, depends on if you're a glass half full or half empty kind of guy. But our form currently against what is realistically, as we've all talked about, a championship team is good. We are 5 out of 5 for the last 5 games. We are just 1 point behind them tomorrow. We've got to win, right? Rich, we have to win tomorrow. It's a must win, right?
Yeah. It's got to be a win. There's no excuses. His head will be rolling down the street if we don't after the game end of the day, won't it? So it's no excuses for me. It's got to win. But as for their standout players, I still think you've got to worry about Ramsdale. Yeah, they may not create as much, but he's still a cracking goalkeeper, to be fair to him. As much as he's a shit ass, so no one likes him, but he's got some talent to him. You really see the game against Everton last week. He made save after save, and I think he'll end up frustrating us. I really do tomorrow. And he'll get in the South Bank's head for sure when he's turning around giving it loads like he does to every team, but even more so to us, which is why we didn't want him. But it's something we're going to, like Dean said, you've got to announce. You've got to get in his head sometime. He openly admitted he's got a 15-minute attention span, so every 10 minutes we've just got to mug him off. Hopefully he concede in that period of time, but I don't see them offering much. Most teams have, yes, they pass the ball, great. They keep the ball, great. But they shouldn't be winning games in the Premier League just by keeping possession of the ball. They're not scoring enough. But for me, yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it, tomorrow? It's a banana skin. Teams coming up, you never really know what you're going to get. Look, Ipswich looked good. Luton last year, it was a bit one of them, like you don't really know what you're going to get week to week. And we're unfortunately in the same thing. We don't know what's going to turn up from our team at the moment either. That's the growing issue we've got.
Not to be overly negative, because I don't want to be, but is there a world, Luke, where we shithouse a win tomorrow? We win 1-0. Ramsdale throws one in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean,
does O'Neill still, is his head still on the chopping block, even if that happens, if we shithouse a 1-0?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's the position that we're in now. His head's on the chopping block all season. Of course, we can win tomorrow. Like we've mentioned, we've got a fantastic squad. We've got some fantastic players. It's just that we haven't, or it appears that we haven't got a manager that's getting the best out of these players, both individually, in their units, your defensive unit, your midfield unit, your attacking unit, and as a team overall. And that's the problem on the pitch. Obviously, there might be problems off the pitch as well, but obviously that's probably another podcast. So we could comfortably be watching this back on Monday and saying, fuck me, look at them four. I ain't got a clue what they're talking about. Just turn Southampton over 3-0. What's everyone worrying about? But equally, we've all been Wolves fans for a very, very long time. How many times have you gone to a Wolves match, be it in the Premier League, the Championship, where, yeah, we're winning today, easy, comfortable, and we find ourselves 2-0 down after 50 minutes? Watford, Huddersfield, I've seen Crewe come and turn us over, Grimsby, Oldham, Swindon Town. So being a Wolves fan, you've always got that element of doubt in the back of your mind. There's another game under McCarthy, Swansea at home. We were struggling. We needed to win. That's where you would expect it to come from. And they beat us about 3-1. And it was a walk in the park for them. So that is a concern also. But, if he gets his tactics right, if our key players turn up, so, we'll need a big game from Kuna. We'll need the fullbacks to be high, advanced up the pitch. If we can get that, then, yeah, we can be sipping our beer at 5:30 on Saturday and saying, yeah, dust the passports off, lads, because we're back.
To be fair, like you look at we're saying we need to win it. It's also a game that they will be doing exactly the same. Every Southampton fan will be saying exactly the same. Look, Wolves are down there. These are the games we've got to win at. Blah blah blah. So both sets of fans are going at it. But to be fair, like Luke said, if we get a nice win tomorrow, and then you've got 2 late kickoffs on a Saturday night after the game in town, sets the weekend up nice. That does.
I think from a Southampton point of view, though, they would probably take a point.
Yeah, like Palace did.
Palace
were happy, weren't they, last week?
And then look to beat us at St Mary's. You know, get a point on the road in the Premier League. It's a good point, as long as you're winning your home games. Keeps them above us as well. So
for them, it's must not lose, isn't it?
Yeah. For them, it's a must not lose. For us, it's a must win.
Yeah.
Regardless of what bollocks O'Neill wants to come out with in the Express and Star or whatever publication he's talking to. It's a must win tomorrow, and we can't sugarcoat around that.
No, and with the international break next weekend, I believe there's always that hanging over us.
Even worse. Imagine we lose tomorrow. We'll be about 75,000 points off safety, and then we've got an international break. Oh my God!
And then Fulham away.
Yeah, one of the worst away games in the league.
Get turned over by Raul and Adama when we come back.
Literally. Oh, it's written in the stars.
So Wolves, that is.
And there's one more comment in the comments that I'll touch on, and then we'll do predictions, and we'll all go and have a swift Guinness or something before bed, just to settle the nerves. But is there a narrative? And I know some people within our group chat are also running a similar narrative. Is it more individual mistakes and slip-ups? I'm thinking of Jose Sar's clearance. So no one being able to defend the back post that's causing us more of an issue than the way we are being set up? Or is that all par for the course?
Don't let Gully fool you. Don't let Gully get in your head, mate. Yeah, of course, there's been some individual mistakes, but for me, it's the way we're being set up. We're too easy to play against. We're too easy to attack against. We're not brave enough in and out of possession. I'd say we're not aggressive enough, but we have got a little bit of shithousing in us, haven't we? The odd tactical foul and that. So for me personally, I do think it's more the way we're being set up to play, and maybe even down to the mentality that's being fed into the players from the coaching staff more so than the individual errors. However, there have been some individual errors, so we do need to appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I think with the coaching's, there's been progression, because obviously look at there's so far up until a couple of games ago, when it comes to like the turnovers and our press, it was really good. But the only problem we had is we were poorly coached on what happened if a team broke our press. We were just wide open, like Luke said. So we went to Arsenal and things like that, and we did actually press them quite well and turn the ball over quite high, which we can do tomorrow. But if teams get through it, it's like we're just completely all over the shop. There's no like protection. There's no plan B if someone gets past, which is where the coaching comes from. But individual, like you can argue an individual error on every single goal that happens. Like you look at the goals that we scored against Palace last week. You could argue it's a Chalobah mistake because he's gone to clear the ball rather than just screen, couldn't you? The second one, Gay fell over when Guedes cut the ball back. So you can argue it both ways on every single goal that happens in football, which is why football is such a fantastic but simple sport at the same time, because you could argue everything for everything that goes on. But I think there is individual mistakes on there, like Strand Larsen not listening to the call last week for the one goal we conceded. The second one, Guedes left his man. So you can do that. But on the flip side, for set pieces, we've got every single player in our own box and no one on the back post. So there's elements that if you can keep in a couple of men up top, or at least one up top like we used to with Adama back in the day, just to keep people, if you keep one up, they've got to keep two back, blah, 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 call each other's bluff. But if we've got every single one of our players inside our 18-yard box and the back post is completely free, that's a coaching problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, again, with the mistakes defensively, it does feel like we get punished for every small mistake we make. Yes, that's the Prem, I suppose, and it's the best, the quality that's there from players. But it's not even the best players, actually punishing us for the mistakes we're making. Like you look at the goals from, say, just the Palace game, they're just...
Wasn't it something like
bullshit?
7 of our last 9 goals conceded have been scored by centre-backs?
Really?
Yeah,
something crazy like that. I'm sure I read it on Twitter, yeah.
That is a mad stat. That is
Man City, both players are technically centre-backs.
Yeah.
Stones and Guardiola.
I think we need to really get a grip of Maitland Nori. Really, he's brilliant going forward. But okay, yeah, yeah. It's just I don't mind him going forward. It's great because the ability he possesses is unbelievable. Yeah, it's harnessing his defending ability. And if he's not going to defend, you've either got to find someone to do the hard work of covering him constantly from midfield, whether that's Gomez or Lamina, Doyle, whatever. They've got to drop in and cover that spot. Because obviously Doyle's been covering that quite a bit. Obviously, look at the Brighton game where he had to cover. I mean, 1v4.
But yeah,
I know it's mad though. It shouldn't happen.
100%. But you can go back to coaching with that because Ryan's clearly been instructed to go forward. Because when he has been instructed to defend, he's pocketed players like Salah. So that's clearly by design for him to go roam in and pop up in the number 10 role. Like there was one clip where we turn the ball over and he's on the centre spot from left back. So that's obviously by design, but Ryan didn't have a very good game last week. 100% he did, and he was very wasteful and he dallied on the ball a little bit. But then you've got, like you said, you've got to coach someone to then fill that gap when he's not there.
Yeah. You've got to cover it. It's just, again, it's back to basics. You've got to cover. If either fullback goes, everyone shifts. Literally, the position shifts across and cover the gap. We know that. We're not professional footballers or coaches as such, but we know that. We can sit in the stands and see that, but. Again, it's clearly not on his iPad where he's looking at it, sat with his mate in the stands. And obviously, he's a tactical genius at the end of the day, isn't he? So he should really be understanding how to set a tactic up and what we can do. But it's failing to achieve currently, and it's wearing very, very thin. And I know I said it before, but one win in 20 games or 2 wins in 20. It's just I don't know any manager in the world that keeps a job ever with that run of form ever. I don't even think Fergie would keep his job at that. It's criminal.
It just doesn't happen. And then it begs the question, well, why? Why are we allowing this? We're just sleepwalking into the abyss. And it seems crazy. I mean, I'm adamant and I'll die on this hill. I believe Gary O'Neill is a good coach. I don't think he's a good manager. And I think there's a big difference between the two. I think he would benefit massively if he did have a more experienced manager supporting him in the dugout just to help him with in-game tweaks, substitutions, spotting opposition's tactical changes and all that sort of stuff. I just think he misses it. I really do. And it's mad to say that because he's probably a pro-licensed qualified coach who's played probably over 250 top-flight games. But from my perspective, I do believe on the training ground and setting up drills and all that sort of stuff, brilliant coach. But coming to manage a game and manage men, players, employees, whatever you want to call them, I think he's miles off it.
I think a lot of the coaching staff are quite new in their coaching careers, like Sean Derry and players like that. Whereas you think back to, I know it's a bit of a hard analogy, but even you look at players. Like Shaky, for example, really good number 2, followed a few really good managers around. Even when, was it Ollie that took over at United and they drafted Steve McLaren in as his number 2? Mm-hmm. Just that experienced head that's been around the block a little bit and knows the league, that kind of stuff, knows how to communicate with the players. Something like that would be a really good addition to the coaching setup, in my opinion. You're right.
Definitely.
Yeah. As we wrap it up then, boys, let's do what we always do and put our heads on the line of predictions. Dean, you might as well carry on talking, man. What's your predictions for tomorrow? And feel free to get creative with it if you want to look in who you think's going to score.
The boy wonder himself will come off the bench and score the winner, and that will be a Wolves win 2-1, but the winner will be scored by Hwang Yi-chan.
Rich?
I'm going to say 3-2 Wolves because we don't we can't keep clean sheets, so
I don't
we're
like
going to
5
concede a
goals.
couple, I think, and that's the issue. But yeah, 3-2 Wolves. I've got to be optimistic with it. We have to punish teams like this. We've got the quality going forward. Let's just bang a few in and concede a few less.
Luke?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Wolves, just to try and be optimistic. Let's try and go in to tomorrow's fixture with a bit of optimism. And then at least if we're extremely pessimistic at 10-5, it's through no fault of our own.
So I was going to go 3-1, but because you said it, Luke, I'll go one more, go 4-1. Let's give Ramsdale an awful day, and let's get some positivity back. But we'll finish the podcast. We'll finish the stream with the words of Gary O'Neill himself, who said, "This weekend is a challenge for everybody, and I want the players to harness the same feeling. There's an unbelievable opportunity tomorrow to show what you are and what you stand for, and when the chips are down and there's a big game coming. So let's hope that they hear that and we get a win tomorrow." So thanks for everyone for joining us. If you haven't pressed the like button, you best do, because we've sat through here now for almost an hour and bared our souls for you. So the least you can do is press like. But yeah, we'll be back with the review show, I believe, on Sunday, hopefully talking about a Wolves win. But yeah, thanks from us. Cheers. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
And up the Wolves.